We'll do ois ches. So the Rebbe explained that the real ani havaya loishanisi, the level of atzmus, will be revealed la'osid lovely. We have the fact that it didn't change. Seems that it should be all the time. Not only la'osid lovely. He's going to explain now how it's going to be uniquely uh, in the osid lovely. Right now, in the avodah, he's going to bring down what is the changes that take place, and still we say that the avodah of a person is something is limited. Now the real gilui of atzmus will be only le'asud lavi, as we'll explain. That's not up to us now. We have to work, and we need to change things around the way we can during our time of avodah and Torah mitzvahs. It's going to go through a whole union from the Rebbe Rashab about explaining how in everything there is a shinui. Outside of Ani Havaya Lo Shanisi, L'chaira, how does the creation of the world fit with Ani Havaya Lo Shanisi? It seems like there is changes. How do we explain all these changes that take place in the world, and still we say Ani Havaya Lo Shanisi, that he didn't change? Ches, v'hinei, be'inyan hani avaya lo shanisi, in this idea of I Hashem have not changed, mevair kved kedushas admur maharashab nishmos haiden. The Rebbe Rashab explains, it's going to go through different steps over here, and ultimately we'll see that there is no change, but it seems like there is changes. The l'chayre ain't a movement. It would seem it's not understood. Harayeshnei say that hishtalshlus. What does it mean? There was no change. There is the order of the evolution, the way everything came in and everything evolved. There's hishtalshlus. V'ha'oir mishtanem oilam la'olam. Oir, the light in each world changes. V'nisamtzim lifi erech kol olam. It was restricted relative to each world, gets only a limit according to that world. Ad sheba'ilam hazeh, till it's been so restricted that in our world over here, ha'oir mitzumtzum b'yoser, the light is very restricted. V'hu behelem v'hester b'tachlis, it's totally obscure, it's hidden, and we don't see oil. It's a change in the oil. The lochein nikra b'shem tachten. That's why it's called the lower lefish ein tachten mimenu b'madrega, because there is no lower than it in level. So we have in this light, there is no light almost at all. It's a tachten. There's nothing. There's a restricted light. It's the lowest place. So that means there's a change. Instead of the light in full capacity, that light has been restricted to almost nothing. So how do we say there's no change? So the Rebbe Rashab explains there. The afal pikein ein ze shinui mitzad ha'eres. It's not a change from the perspective of the oirs didn't change. The fact that there's less oir coming into a world is not because there's less oir. It's because of the keli, because of the oilam. Dagam sheyesh kamo chilukim b'ha'oir, although practically speaking, there is difference in the light that comes through in the different worlds. She'ena doime ha'oir k'moy hu ba'asiya le'k'moy hu b'yitzira. It is not similar, the light, as it is in Asiya, the way the light is in Yitzira. Yitzira, there is more light. So there is actually, seems like there is a different in the light. Ubi Yitzira, it's not compared lekemoi shahu bebriya, the way it's in Bria. Ubi Bria lekemoi shahu b'atzilus, and bebriya it's not compared to the way it's atzilus. Mechein l'mayla yosef, then higher. So there is a difference in the oir, in the each world. So he says, while the difference in the oir, it's not in the oir itself. Hine chilukim elu hem rak mitzad ha'oilamos. These differences in the oir is because of the world. The worlds get a different oir according to their keli. She'ein ha'oilam li lekabel oir naila yosef. The world isn't a vessel to receive a greater oir. So there is really no change in the oir itself, but the oir that comes down in this world less or more in the different worlds is because the world can't get the higher level. Avol ha'oir atzmai, but the oir itself nimtzo b'shleimusei ubimiluoi lamato k'moi lamaylo. It is complete and full below, just as it is above. So basically, he says that it's not really a change in the oil, but it's a change in the keli. But after all, he says it's still not understood, the Rebbe Rashab asks. Let it be that it's a change mitzad the mekabel mitzad the oilam. But because of the oilam, there is a change in a different oil. Chadayin ain't a movement. But it's still not understood. Shareze gufo she'ein ha'oilamos. Yecholim lekabloi. The fact itself that the world cannot accept hareze shinui. So there is a change. That there is a change that a world cannot accept that higher level of oil. So what does it mean that it didn't change? That itself of not being able to receive a higher, that is a change. Umevayir hazeh, the gam hashinui, shemitzad ha'elam ezvam mekablim, ein ze shinui. That also the change that comes from the world and the recipient is not really a change. This is not a change, even mitzad that. Why? Sharizeh shehamekablim einam yecholim lekabel es ha'oir. This, that the recipients are not able to accept that light. Why are they restricted? Hu mitzad hamogein sheyeshnei al havaya. That is because of the shield that it is in havaya. We know kishemesh umogein havaya likim. Elikim serves as the mogen for the shem havaya. Since there is a mogen, there is a shield that doesn't allow for the full revelation of havaya. That's vuahelam the shem elikim. That's the obscurity that the Shem Elikim doesn't allow. So what? There's not something else. It's the Shem Elikim that serves as a shield, as a cover that doesn't allow the oil to be nimshach, which comes down in the world. V'harei Shem Elikim. Since this comes from Shem Elikim, who Shem Kodesh. It's not a something which is outside of Hashem. It's a holy name, Zayin Shemus, Shein Nimchokim. It's one of the 7 names that cannot be erased, the name Elikim. So it's godly. It's the Mogin, the source of the limitation, restriction for the Mekablim is godly, is Elikim. Ulazois, Hare legabe ha'oir atzmai. So therefore, even though the Shem Elikim restricts the oir, but relative to the oir itself, ein ze helem klal. That's not considered a block. A block that comes from Elikim that doesn't allow the Makablim, that's not considered really a helem. A block share ein etzer mastir al etzem ki yedua, because the etzem cannot cover on the etzem, like you say, you do. The marshal is given that you can't cover your head with your own hand to say a bracha. You need something outside, because an etzem cannot cover. You cannot cover for yourself, since Shem Elikim is godly. Godliness cannot cover ungodliness. So Elikim cannot cover an Avaya, really, in essence, because Elikim is also godly. And Etzem cannot cover an Etzem. V'hainu. Shegam mitzad ha'lomez v'ha'sterim lo yeshinui ba'oir klal. That means even because of those obscurity and the blocks that is in the world, there is no change in the oir at all, because it all comes from Elikim. It's godly, ein etzem matzir al estem, so the oir doesn't change. But Rebbe continues to ask, he goes step after step, he says, we still need to understand. Yesh shinui ba'oir mitzad hanivroim. So let it be mitzad the perspective of the Shem Elikim. Oir doesn't change because ein etzem mastir al etzem. But the created being see a difference in the oir. Yes, cheshinu ba'oir mitzad hanivroim. Shar hanivroim im chalukim zeh mizeh. The created being are different one from another. V'yizhavus hanivroim hu mibchinas ha'oir dvar havayit. The dvar Hashem that creates us is from the level of oir, and every nivra gets a different level of the oir. So from the nivra's perspective, the oir is different. Shelchol di nivra yesh dibur nivdol mezulosoi. Every created being has a separate dibur, different than the other one, in which the oir is nizgala according to that level. V'im kein, harei zashinu b'oir. There's a change in the oir, in the perspective of the recipient. Each recipient gets a different oir, is a different level. The Dvar Hashem comes down to each recipient separately. So these are the different steps he went through. First of all, he says that the oir is not a shinui, the shinui is the makabel. And then he says that the shinui that takes place even in the world, but it takes place because Shem Elikim, it's not mastir ala etzem. But now he says, but even the makablim, there's a shinui in the oir from the perspective of the makablim. So he explains, the be'emes gam ze'ein shinu, this is not really a change. Al pi hamoshul, the oir hashemesh hamavur b'tanya. He explains it based on the moshul of this light, the shine of the sun, as explained in the Tanya. The davke kasher ha'oir yoytze mechutz lahamoir ozhu b'metzius oir. That it's only specifically when the light goes outside of the luminary, he goes outside of the body of the sun, ozhu b'mitzius oir, then he is an entity of light. Avol bihi yoisei behamoir, but when the light is within the luminary, eine mitzius klal, over there he's not an entity at all. Kibotel b'mitzius mamish behamoir, because he's totally negated from existence actually in the luminary. In the luminary, there is oil, because if it's outside, there has to be inside, but there's no metzias of oil inside. Uluzois. And therefore, in a hadvar havaya shemehave tomid es hanivraim. So therefore, the dvar havaya, the oil, the words of Hashem, which continuously creates all created being, v'hu kol iker mitziusam, that's their entire main existence. There is the light of Hashem that provides for their existence continuously. It's not going, there can't be any existence. The Eibishter is continuously recreating, energizing all creations. Ukiyadu, as it's known, the Ein Zedoime Kasha Yoitze L'Tzoyrev Kli, that when a smith comes out a keli, so over there, Shah Keli Tiskayim Bli Homa, that vessel can exist, doesn't need a craftsman. The craftsman created it, he made it into, shaped it, but he doesn't have to work on it. He's done the work and that's it, then it stays. Lefish hu yesh miyesh. Because the Uman did not create something from nothing. He took a piece of silver and he shaped it. It's one item and it's still a yesh. V'uman lo also mitzius hayeshus. He did not make about the entity of the existence. Mash'en came be his havus hayesh ma'ayin ve'efes hamuchlot, as opposed to when we in the creation of an entity from nothing, from zero, totally zero or nothing. That light needs to constantly create the nivroim. The dvar havaya that created needs to constantly create. That's their main existence, is that oir, v'ha'oir, harehu nimtzo tomid ba'amoir. In essence, the oir is always in the moir. Shaharei b'hamoir lo shayich inyan atzimtzum b'siluk chas v'sholem. Because within the moir, in Atzmos, it does not apply the whole idea of restriction and removal, God forbid. That the oir left, there's no leaving. There's nothing to leave Atzmos. So Atzmos is still there wherever the oir is. So the Atzmos is everywhere. Gam b'mokim yesh hanivra, also in the place where there is the created yesh. V'hadibur hamahave mekayim hamachayesei. And that dibur that creates, sustains, and vitalizes him, the Atzmos is here as well. So basically, we're always in the Moir. We never left the Moir. The Moir is here everywhere. Since the created being and the light that creates them are constantly find themselves in the luminary, in the essence, in Hashem, so they are totally subjugated. Ki bitl ziv hashemesh b'hashemesh, as the subjugation of the ray of the shemesh while it's in the shemesh, which it has no existence, totally bottled. V'imkein, move on. So it's understood. Shegam mitzad yeshus hanivra lo yesh shum shinu klal. So also because of the yeshus of the created being, there is no change, because in the Moir, we're all in the Moir, and in the Moir, there's no change. It doesn't matter what we feel and that we're a Yesh. So the Rebbe explains, technically, there is no Shinui, nothing is changed. We're all in the Moir, and there's no change in the Moir, as the Rebbe Rashab explains. So what do we say that the Shinui, it'll be revealed, that there's no Shinui, will be revealed le'osid lavai? And what's this bun? The Rebbe explains. Vayidei his boinenus beinyan ani avai leshenisi nase etzle chuka lebezin yonim. When a person reflects ani avai leshenisi, that there is no change, there is a yearning for two matters: beruchnius ubegashmius, spiritually and physically. What is it? To inyonim. Inyan ha'alef, he wants both inyonim, both spiritually and physically. He wants two aspects. Inyan ha'alefu, one thing, the kasha mizboinen asher kol seder ishtalshus eine poil shum shinu klal. When he reflects on the idea that the entire ishtalshus does not impact any change at all. Lezois yirtze asher kol koiches v'ritzeinosav yurak belakus, that all of his powers, all of his wishes should be only godliness, because there is nothing else, really. There's no change, nothing changed, and it's all Hashem. So therefore, there's nothing else here. There's nothing really here. He wants only Hashem. And the second aspect of it, who the kashem is boinen, asher ni'avai loishanisi, that Hashem didn't change. Everything is in Asmus. Lezois yirtza. That's why he wants asher gam b'hayesh hanivro, that also the way he is a created entity, lo yitztarich liyis nizon minyonim asher b'chitzoni yusam lenikar b'hem elikus. He doesn't want to be nourished from matters that externally you can't see that they're godly. Doesn't want ki'im sheyi nizon me'atzmus. He wants to be sustained. He wants to be nurtured. He wants to be fed from atzmus. Nizon meziv hashchina. He doesn't want to be fed from Gashmi, because there is really nothing. He only wants to be from atzmus. Nizon meziv hashchina. He wants to live. He wants to be sustained. He wants to be nurtured, fed from the ziv hashchina, not from Gashmi, from things that don't hide godliness. What's the difference between these two? Who? The inyan ha'alef, the first aspect, asher kol koichosav ruchniim, that all of his powers spiritual, b'chlolus ha'koiches pnimiyim. Generally, that's his inner koiches. That is the ruchnis koiches, v'rotzi v'tainuk, his will and his pleasure. Those are already the Rosin and Tainum. You Rakba Lakus, that should be only godly. Hine Inyan Zehu Bekoicha Shel Ha'adam. The person has that power. The person can create that level of Ani Havai Leishanisi that he reflects on. He can push himself that he should only want godliness. That's in his power. That's the avoida which is demanded from a person. That's the karbonis, to sacrifice your blood and the fats. What does that mean? Shadam hu hanefesh, the blood which is the soul, hainachayis, that's his energy. V'chelev hu atainug, and the chelev, that's the fat, that's the delight. Der kochen geschmack. the fervor, the passion, the taste. Lakrivam ala gabe hamizbeach, to offer them on the mizbeach, lahavaya sheyirak b'lakus, that should be to Hashem, by realizing that everything is atzmus and there's nothing else. That much you can push yourself. But dover zeh efsher lifel, this is something you can accomplish, that you can turn yourself around to want only ruchnis. Loirak bisman shebeis hamikdash hayakayim, not only in the time of the Beis Hamikdash existed, Kimgam Bisman Hagolus, also in the time of exile. Va'adrabe, and on the contrary, quoting the Zohar, Migoy Iksa, because of the pressure that we're in Golus, we can have even more desire and sacrifice ourselves on the Mizbeach, our Chele V'dam to Hashem. Das was darf horven, the fact that he needs to work very hard, effort, to overcome this double and quadrupled darkness. That way he can actually, specifically that way, he can reach even a higher level. Shehu mitzad koyach hamesiras nefesh sheyesh ne'achshav yesem nikamei bizman habayis. That is the cause of the power of Mesiras Nefesh that we have now, even more than the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Migoy Iksa, because of the Golus, because of our hardship, we have more Mesiras Nefesh now. That the person can accomplish through this reflection. Omnam inyan habeis, but the second matter, who ashelo yitzarich li nizam inyonim shebechitziniosum einam elakus. So that it doesn't need to be nourished from matters that are externally not godly. Kim sheyiyeh nizam niziv hashchina, but rather he should be fed from the ray of the Shechina. In Isaiah, that's going to be kasher ruach yavi ruach hatuma min haaretz, when the spirit of impurity will leave the land. V'agilu de la'osid, that's going to be revealed in the osid. Asher v'omar v'yoymahu yin elikeinu zeh, then we'll say, this is our God. Sheyiyah l'kilu l'kus b'muchash, godliness, the revelation will be the revelation of godliness will be actually Sheyiyah gilu koyach hapoil menifel, the power of the worker in what's been accomplished, the Eibishter's power, the Dvar Hashem, is being revealed. The Yurgash Asherei Mumadi will feel that there's nobody besides Hashem. V'zehu inyan aniyah violation nisi. That's the idea aniyah violation nisi. A part of aniyah violation nisi we have now in the Avodah, but the muchash in the practical will be lost. The av shehu b'chol eisu b'chol zman b'chol mokim. Even though it's in every time and everywhere and every time and every place, but it should be vividly in all of his matters. In Izeh, Yizgalil Osi Dafke, that's going to be revealed in the future Dafke. Al Yidei Avoida Achshov, Ba'avoida Ruchnis, through the spiritual Avoida now. She Avoidas HaKaroshim, which is working on the Karoshim. The Kima Mitzvahs Begashmis, Karoshim, as we said before, Mahapich, the Shtus, the Kedusha, the Shtus, and the Mitzvahs and Gashmis. The word is sheker also, the oilam, from turn the sheker into keresh, and it becomes a kesher. We connect it with the essence of mahus, liyis gag v'ritzba echad mamish, to be the roof and the floor one. Tes b'zeu basi legani chaysikalo. So basi legani chaysikalo. The iker shchina b'tachtenim ha'isov. Shem comes back. The main Shechina was here, Lamata. Our avodah is to make the Migdash, to bring Hashem resting here. How do we accomplish that? We said before, through the Amudim, Loshen Amudim shenitzavim ba'aretz, language of the pillars that stand on the ground. The foundation isn't hard and strong. That's the mitzvahs gashmiyas. You anchor them in the ground. And then you draw it above, they extend above, till the head goes connected to the roof, at gavoy till higher. As he continues to explain in Geras HaKodesh, Asher nitzovim berum hamaylos. Nitzovim means that they stand sturdy in the highest of level. Nitzov melech, a king stands. V'amshochas hisnasus atzmi. They bring down the level of nitzov melech, which is the hisnasus atzmi. Ayidei b'chinas am, a melech v'le'am, a loshen eimemis. They're separate. Sha'ayidei zeh nempmen. That way you take from hisnasus atzmi, from the level, the exaltness of atzmi, ad atzmus ein sof, the esem ein sof. Umamshichim ayidei avedus odom. And we bring down through the work of the person, sheyebosi legani, legnuni, should come to the garden, legnuni, the mokoim, sha'oikri betchila, where the Eibishter was in the beginning. Ikar shchina betachtoinim haisa, the main shchina was here below. The kemoi. So we bring it back to the beginning. The beginning, the Ikar was here. And we bring down Atzmos through the Amudim, and we reach all the ways Lamailo, we bring the Snasus Atzmi, and we bring it down to the Mokim, the Ikar Shechina B'tachtoinim Haisa. Moi B'tchilas Habriya Ksiv, just in the beginning of the creation says, Eila Toil Deis Moli. This would have full, Toil Deis Tuva would have vav. Kach B'geula Hasida Ksiv. Also, in the future redemption says, Eila Toildis Peretz. These are the birth of Peretz, which is Toildis Mole, which is also Mole, which refers, that brings Yishai and David in the Posik. So she is a Lamata Masorat Tvochim, should be blown to Mekoriv Mamish, Ayidei Mashiach Tzidkenu, through the righteous Mashiach. Okay. We'll leave it over here, and we'll mamshich.
Thank you very much.